Alrighty, going to do an update video on the Spawntable. And basically, I've tried a lot of different things, and uh, for some reason, I didn't see it at first, but certain mobs of mine wasn't spawning. And so, basically, you're going to need to alter their file, because even though I created my own file, and I went even into the area and changed it to look at my file, it still kept reverting over to the spawn table for some reason, and I not understood that yet. So for right now, create the spawn table, recreate theirs, and edit theirs, and your mobs will spawn. For some reason, it was skipping certain mobs. It would go through and it would pick up quite a few of my mobs, but then certain mobs it would just skip. It never would pick them up. And that goes for the same thing for, which I'm going to take these out because I don't want these on my server, the Rift mobs. I mean, it was skipping quite a few mobs. It got in like all my new spiders, it got in my wolves, it got in my all the existing mobs, except for it wouldn't take rift mobs. It wouldn't take my new cows or my bulls or my new calves, but it would take most of all my hostile mobs, like my spiders, my rats, and my wolves, but it wouldn't take the others. And then it wouldn't look at the new tiles that I told it to spawn on. So when that got pointed out, I started looking closely because I saw the one spawning in, so I just figured they all spawned in, but apparently they didn't. And I've not figured out why that was happening. At first I figured out over here in the zone file that, it was calling the encounter and the spawn table. It wasn't calling my spawn table, which is right here. So I came over here and basically, let's see, let me open up my file. Yeah, I completely came over here and did all this right here, and added everything in. I mean, I added everything in, and for some reason it just wasn't working. Um, oh yeah, I got these in here. I need to take these out. Just wondering why that was happening. I was testing their spawning in different ones. Okay. But basically that's what was happening is, for some reason, my spawn table, even though I had the exact same information and I came over here and I told the ad spawner to use my file rather than their file, for some reason it came back to here, even though I told it not to. And if you do a search for it, and there's probably another area, that's one of the problems with IntelliJ, is it don't pick up everything. But if you do a search for Spawntable, it'll pick up certain things and it won't pick up everything. So, but that's the one place, over here in zones where it's calling for this over here on the spawn table. And for some reason it wasn't picking up all my mobs, it was only picking up half. So if you add it straight to their spawn table, they actually spawn. It's just going to be a little more research I really don't have time to spend towards. So I would just recommend putting your stuff in their file, recreate it so you can alter it, and then just put your stuff in it for now until a later date that I have time to just really look through the code and find out where all that stuff's changed at. Because it's like, through this little adventure here, I also found out, the huge sharks, I've always, I didn't want 500 mobs. So I was turning the huge sharks down to, say, 450. I wanted them 50 lower to 100 lower. And it kept ignoring when I would actually set the actual percentage or the actual amount of mobs I wanted to spawn. It ignored this over here every time, and that was because, and I forget which one it was, in one of these files, there's like 3 areas where it will tell it to spawn 500 sharks in 3 different spots. And if you change one, you got to change them all. Otherwise, it'll keep spawning 500 regardless. And it took me a little bit to track them down. I tracked down the 3 spots so I could spawn it down to 450 rather than 500 sharks every time. And it always going over what I specifically told it to do. But yeah, I'd recommend for right now to get your mobs to spawn properly, just use their file until a later date when I have more time to research where all I need to change, because I know I need to go in here and tell it to use my file rather than their file, or some other things if I wanted to use both files. It's going to be some extra coding to code mine in as well, and I really don't want to look into it that much. I got other things I got to study right now, so yeah, just use create the spawn table, put your stuff in there, and like if you want to create if you want it a certain tile to spawn a certain thing, you just go in here, create a new encounter, encounter type, and we'll give it a name. Now these names ain't specific. This is just a name you create to recognize something. So let's say we want, let's see, I've done moss, I've done tundra, I've done snow. Those were never there, so let's do what's a good tile to do? It's a good question. What other tiles do we have? Let's just call it, let's do peat. We'll do peat. So we'll call it, we're just going to call it this so we'll know what it is. We're going to say this is peat ground, just so we know it, that's what we're talking about. Then we're going to say a new encounter type, and we're going to call this tile. And I'm going to type all this out because my machine just keeps going and putting a long thing in there, and I don't want it all in there. And let's see, what did we say? This is going to be peat, and they're going to call it, where's my peas? Okay, so it's going to be peat. Try this again. We just go ahead and hit this, and I'll just remove it when it does it. See, I don't need this COM warm online mesh tiles because I've already put it at the very top, so that I don't have to do that every time. But this wants to be a butt head. Put a comment there and bite, and this is a land tile. Hit the right key, and then we need to go down here and we need to say add tile type, and this here is peat ground, and then we need to say peat ground, and let's see, dot add encounter, and what do we want in here? We'll put a brown wolf in here. Where's my brown wolf? There he is. And oh yeah, the and we'll say a chance of 2. Well, what did I do? Hit 3. We'll say chance of 3 anyway. And that's basically all you do. If you want a different tile for something to spawn on all the time, you can just add the tile. If it's not there, you add the tile. And you create this small little name right here. Make it make sense. It's basically making your names make sense. And it's that simple. And before you can actually put them here, they have to exist up here. Okay, and this right here, what this does is this calls over here into your creature template creator. Or actually, I think it calls into your creature template IDs, and it calls over to the creature template IDs, gets the template ID for the mob, and then here you tell it, like I said before, you tell it how many you want to spawn whenever it pops, and it hits that trigger. And down here is the chance you want it to spawn, because there's like this random roll that rolls, and basically it's the chance that it'll pop one out or something like that, if I remember correctly, skimming over the code. But that's what you want to do to add your mobs for now, and it works just fine. I had a whole list. I'll show you right here. Well, the log file's down because I got the server down. I'll crank it up real quick. I'll show you. I had them spawning. You'll even see the rifts in there because I haven't actually let me shut this down. Come on, what are you doing? Shut off. Close program. Don't give me no crap. Okay, we just well, it's not a new mob, but I need to put these in there. So go over here, go to my zone folder, drag it, not mine, drag that one over there, and that reminds me I need to take mine out of here while I'm sitting here. Where are you at? Take that out until later date. Let me delete that one out. Okay, so now we're going to crank this back up. And you'll see them popping in. Basically, like I said, I don't know what was causing that. It's something I'll have to look into. I'm going to game screen here. I really don't need to crank it up. You can see it over here, but that screen's going to be going a mile a minute, so I'm just going to crank it up over here so you can see this run right here. Just clear the tab. Okay, as you can see, we got a big list. As you can see right here, we have Rift Beast, Rift Jackal. We had 15 of those and one of those before I changed the file over. And to watch the server run, you can see they're just popping away right there. I got like 50,000 popping right now testing. And ignore that one stuff you're seeing in there. That's some extra stuff I got recording or reporting to me, but the mobs, they're just popping away. But that's all you need to do right there, is just have that, and you'll be set. As you can see, I can keep popping this in here. You can see all mine, even my cows and my bulls, they're spawning. There's the Rift Jackals and Beasts. They're not set to spawn anymore because I replaced it, but they'll still be here until they die out or whatnot. But you can see all the other ones that were added. Soul Demon, Zombies, King Cobra. As you can see, he's popping properly now. Basically, I changed his stats to be more like an Anaconda, but gave him more power than an Anaconda. Not as much power as he had, but because this is not a Kingdom PvP thing. This is PvE server I run, so I wanted a tougher snake than the anaconda, so I put the king cobra in, modified his stats, and well, there he is. So I got an extra snake mob on the map, and like I said, here's all my mobs down here. But that's the end of this video. Let me know if you have any problems.